sold a lie that mass migration is about compassion, diversity, and enriching our nations through multiculturalism. But when you scratch the surface, it becomes clear this isn't about kindness. It's about economics, control, and elite convenience. Let's paint a more accurate picture about mass migration using Canada as the case study. In 1960, Canada had a birth rate of over 27 births per 1,000 people. Today, that number is under 10. That's not a gentle decline, it's population collapse. And it started right after the widespread adoption of birth control, paired with a cultural shift that told women liberation means working 40 to 50 hours a week for a corporation that could care less about you. Now, let's be clear, before the Handmaid's Tale crowd starts screaming. This isn't a pitch for public policy on family planning or forcing anyone back into the kitchen. But we do need to ask who benefited from this shift. While it was sold as social liberation, it conveniently flooded the labor market, suppressed wages, and drove inflation. Dual-income households competed for the same goods and homes, driving prices higher and lining the pockets of the wealthy. What looks like progress was probably just a well-dressed psyop. Here's the math problem. If a population stops reproducing, it stops growing. But in a country like Canada, with a massive welfare state, you need a growing base of young workers to support aging retirees. Pensions, healthcare, and social programs don't fund themselves. And if birth rates can't keep up, governments look for the next best solution: mass migration. In 2000, the UN openly proposed this in a report titled Replacement Migration. It argued that to counter an aging population, Western nations would need to bring in tens, even hundreds of millions of migrants. This wasn't hidden. It was public policy planning. Enter Canada's Century Initiative, a lobby group co-founded by Liberal insiders Dominic Barton and Mark Wiseman. Their goal? A Canada of 100 million people by 2100, not through births, but through immigration. The Globe and Mail says we're on track, and the data backs it up. From 2021 to 2023, Canada's net migration skyrocketed to over 1.2 million per year, an unprecedented spike in modern history. In fact, that immigration rate is 500% higher than our historical average. And who's running the show now? Mark Carney, former Bank of Canada governor, WEF insider, and newly installed Prime Minister. One of his first moves? Adding Mark Wiseman, yes, the Century Initiative co-founder, to his advisory council. The connections aren't subtle, they're systemic. So who really benefits from all of this? Not Canadians and not immigrants. The only winners are what should be referred to as the unholy trinity. First, the government, which expands its power by engineering a one-party state, importing a loyal electorate that's more accustomed to poverty, dependence, and authoritarianism than liberty, prosperity, and dissent. Second, transnational corporations, which suppresses wages by increasing labor supply while inflating profits through higher consumer demand across housing, goods, and services. Third, organized crime, which thrives in the chaos, taking advantage of overwhelmed systems to smuggle drugs, traffic humans, and move money under the radar while law enforcement falls further behind. Mass migration isn't about compassion. It's about patching a broken economic system, preserving elite dominance, and leaving the rest of us to pay the price.
I am absolutely sick to death of the lies that we have been told our entire lives for someone else's societal agenda. And for most of society, it is ingrained in our brains from birth. I fell into that trap too, and I have recently woken up. So what am I talking about? That we're taught that we're supposed to go to school so that we can get a good job, work for somebody else for 40 years until we can retire, which is complete BS because most people either don't make it to retirement or are too unhealthy to actually enjoy it. They want you to be a worker bee so they can put limitations on you. They don't want thinkers, creators, innovators. Once I decided I wasn't working for somebody else anymore, I started to realize what real wealth is. I know you're thinking money, and money helps, but money's just a tool. It's freedom. Freedom to live the life that we want to live without society putting limitations on us.
What's the cadet motto at West Point? You will not lie, cheat, or tolerate those who do. I was the CIA director. We lied, we cheated, we stole. It was like we had entire training courses. It reminds you of the glory of the American experiment. When I was a cadet, what's the cadet motto at West Point? He will not lie, cheat, or tolerate those who do.
The truth will... The calendar is a lie. The truth will shock you. We are not in 2025. Did you know the word month comes from the moon? It was originally moonth. The moon has a 28-day cycle. But here's the crazy part. 3 and 65 by 28 equals 13. That means we actually have 13 lunar cycles per year, not 12. Our calendar is missing an entire month, which means we don't even know what year we're actually in. But it gets even wilder. The sky is a clock. The sun tells the time of day. The moon tells the day of the month. The stars tell you the month of the year. The sky above us isn't just random. It's intelligent. Everything on Earth...
CIA.
We were so... What is the most powerful intelligence agency in the world?
This question, your original question, which is the most powerful, I'm going to have to give you a few different answers. So the most powerful intelligence organization in the world in terms of reach is the Chinese MSS, the Ministry of State Security, because they have created a single solitary intelligence service that has global reach and is integrated with Chinese culture, so that essentially every Chinese person anywhere in the world is an informant to the MSS, because that's their way of serving the Middle Kingdom, Zhongguo, the Central Kingdom, the Chinese word for China. So they're the strongest. They're the most powerful intelligence service in terms of reach. Most assets, most informants, most intelligence.
So it's deeply integrated with the citizenry.
Correct, with their culture. You know what a Chinese person who lives in Syria thinks of themselves as? A Chinese person. Do you know what a Chinese person, a Chinese national living in the United States thinks of themselves as? A Chinese person, right? Americans living abroad often think of ourselves as expats, expatriates, living on the local economy, embracing the local culture. That is not how Chinese people view traveling around the world.
And by the way, if I may mention, I believe the way Mossad operates is similar kind of thing, because people from Israel living abroad still think of themselves as Jewish and Israeli first. So that allows you to integrate the
culture and the faith-based aspects. Exactly right.
But the number of people in Israel is much, much smaller than the number of people in China.
So when it comes to reach, China wins that game.
Yeah.
When it comes to professional capability, it's the CIA by far, because budget-wise, capability-wise, weapon system-wise, modern technology-wise, CIA is the leader around the world, which is why every other intelligence organization out there wants to partner with CIA. They want to learn from CIA. They want to train with CIA. They want to partner on counter narcotics and counter drug and counter terrorism and counter Uyghur, you name it. People want to partner with CIA. So CIA is the most powerful in terms of capability and wealth. And then you've got tech. So tech alone, meaning corporate espionage, economic espionage, nothing beats DGSE in France. They're the top. They've got a massive budget that almost goes exclusively to stealing foreign secrets. They're the biggest threat to the United States, even above Russia and above China. DGSE in France is a massively powerful intelligence organization, but they're so exclusively focused on a handful of types of intelligence collection that nobody even really thinks that they exist. And then in terms of just terrifying violence, you have Mossad. Mossad will do anything. Mossad has no qualms doing what it takes to ensure the survival of every Israeli citizen around the world. Most other countries will stop at some point, but Mossad doesn't do that.
So it's the lines you're willing to cross.
And the reasons that you're willing to cross them. You know, there's the CIA will let an American stay in jail in Russia unlawfully and seek a diplomatic solution. I mean, the United States has let people, there are two gentlemen from the 1950s who were imprisoned in China for 20 years waiting for diplomatic solutions to their release. So we do not kill to save a citizen, but Mossad will.
And then they'll not just kill, they'll do large scale infiltration.
They do amazing things. There is they spare no expense because it's a demonstration to their own people. Again, going back to the whole idea of influence. Every intelligence operation that sees the light of day has two purposes. The first purpose is the intelligence operation. But if it was just the intelligence operation, it would stay secret forever. The second purpose of every successful intelligence operation, when they become public, is to send a signal to the world